Did you know when Sharon Tate died, she was just 26 years old? Just like James Dean, Aaliyah, and Chance Perdomo, her rising star blinked out before it could fully blaze. Stick around as we reveal 21 promising actors who left us before turning 30, and why their stories still haunt Hollywood today. Chance Perdomo. Dashing across red carpets in razor-sharp suits, Chance Perdomo radiated the swagger of a star built for the long haul. Fans first latched onto his hypnotic turn as Ambrose Spellman, the pansexual warlock whose sly grin stole every chilling adventures of Sabrina Scene. Amazon's Gen V spotted that charisma early, handing him the scene-stealing role of Andre Anderson, a metal-manipulating anti-hero destined for center stage. But in March 2024, a late-night motorcycle ride in Los Angeles ended in a single-vehicle crash that took his life at 27. Showrunners refused to recast, a testament to how irreplaceable his presence felt, rewriting Season 2 around his absence. Hollywood mourned a British-Guatemalan talent who balanced superhero swagger with Shakespearean nuance. Perdomo's final bow reminds us speed thrills, but destiny sometimes breaks too late. Cameron Boyce. Disney's golden boy grin belonged to Cameron Boyce, the kid who could pirouette, pratfall, and deliver punchlines before his driver's license. As Luke Ross on Jessie, he turned spoiled rich antics into laugh-out-loud charm, then moonwalked into villainous royalty as Carlos, Cruella de Vil's tech-obsessed son in the Descendants trilogy. Off-camera, he spearheaded anti-gun violence charities and dance collabs with hip-hop legends. Yet, the energy masking his gentle soul hit a battle with epilepsy. On July 6, 2019, a nocturnal seizure stopped his heart at just 20. Family, fans, and co-stars watched Disney dim its brightest flame far too soon. His final role, voicing an anime hero in Runt, premiered posthumously, reminding audiences that talent, like starlight, gleams long after the source goes dark. Anton Yelchin. Anton Yelchin spoke fluent Russian, Chekhovian English, and indie film vulnerability by age 17. He ping-ponged between blockbusters, helming the Enterprise as Pavel Chekhov in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek reboot, and Sundance darlings like Crazy, where his improvised heartbreak turned critics to mush. On June 19, 2016, a freak accident outside his Studio City home ended the story. His Jeep Grand Cherokee rolled backward down the steep driveway, pinning him against a brick pillar and security gate. He was 27. The industry gasped, then sued Jeep for faulty gear shifters. Friends immortalized him in the documentary Love, Antosha, revealing notebooks crammed with punk lyrics, poetry, and movie ideas we'll never see. Warp Drive never felt slower. Jansen Panetier. Forever remembered as the kinetic voice behind animated misfits, from jittery zebra Patch in Racing Stripes to scrappy dinosaur SPRX in Robots, Jansen Panetier carved a niche outside the shadow of his big sister Hayden. He bounced between Nickelodeon guest spots, Broadway workshops, and YA thrillers, often squeezing in mural painting trips for charity. On February 19, 2023, he failed to show up for a meeting. Friends found him unresponsive in his New York apartment. An autopsy cited cardiomegaly, an enlarged heart, at 28. The diagnosis felt cruelly poetic for an extrovert famous for wearing his giant heart on his sleeve. Voice-over studios dimmed their MIC lights for a minute's silence, remembering the kid who could turn a single whoop into a cartoon legend. Angus Cloud. Before fame, Connor Angus Cloud Hickey was skimming lattes in Brooklyn when a casting scout spotted his sleepy-eyed magnetism. HBO's Euphoria turned him into Fezco, the soft-spoken drug dealer audiences rooted for against all odds. Cloud's deadpan delivery wasn't acting. It was Oakland authenticity, wrapped in an orange Armani suit. Behind the swagger, he grieved his father's 2023 passing numbing pain with prescription pills and street opioids. On July 31st that same year, an accidental overdose ended his life at 25. Fans flooded socials. Protect your Fezcos. Season 3 rewrites proved no script can replicate that lilting rasp or wounded puppy stare. The streets of East Highland lost their unlikely guardian. Hollywood lost its rawest newcomer. Kyle Burch. London's West End buzzed when Kyle Burch belted out Inner White Girl in Michael R. Jackson's Pulitzer-winning musical A Strange Loop. The British-Jamaican tenor balanced comedic sass with break-your-spine high notes, later dazzling in revivals of The Color Purple and Once on This Island. Between matinees, he mentored queer teens of color, preaching that stage wings are big enough for every dream. In April 2024, news broke that Burch had died suddenly at 26. No cause released, leaving a theater community reeling in unanswered applause. Marquees dimmed, and co-stars led gospel harmonies outside the Lyric Theater, letting his final note echo down Shaftesbury Avenue. Some talents exit on a blackout cue we never see coming. Cole brings plenty. A descendant of Lakota acting royalty, Cole brings plenty's soulful eyes stole scenes in Taylor Sheridan's 1923, bringing dignity and mischievous humor to the Yellowstone universe. He followed up with frontier docudramas and activism for indigenous mental health programs. When he was reported missing in April 2024, fans feared the worst. Days later, Kansas authorities confirmed his death at 27. Circumstances undisclosed. Tribes across the plains held candlelight vigils, drumming under prairie stars for an actor who carried ancestral stories on modern shoulders. Paramount dedicated 1923's season finale to his memory, proof that the horizon is lonelier without his silhouette on horseback. James Dean. With a cigarette smoldering between half-smiles, James Dean compressed a lifetime of rebellion into 3 films: East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant. His Porsche 550 Spyder, nicknamed Little Bastard, embodied that meteoric speed. On September 30th, 1955, en route to a Salinas race, Dean collided with a Ford Tudor at an intersection on California State Route 466. He died before paramedics arrived, 24 years old, seatbelt still fastened. Posthumous Oscars and endless posters followed. But nothing matched the real-time shock of Hollywood learning that the face of youth itself could bruise, bleed, and vanish. Every leather-jacketed protagonist since owes him royalties. Dominique Dunn. Dominique Dunn's wide-eyed innocence anchored Tobe Hooper's haunted suburbia hit Poltergeist, prompting casting directors to circle her name for every upcoming teen drama. Months later, on October 30th, 1982, her jealous ex-boyfriend strangled her in the driveway of her West Hollywood home. She was 22. The attacker received a controversial 6-year sentence. Fans received the first harrowing chapter in the so-called Poltergeist curse. Dunn's unfinished scripts piled up, heartbreaking footnotes to a career that could have paralleled Jamie Lee Curtis's Scream Queen ascendancy. Instead, her legacy fuels every hotline that flashes, "Love shouldn't hurt." Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate embodied late 60s Hollywood glamour, a it girl who could swing comedic in The Fearless Vampire Killers and smolder dramatic in Valley of the Dolls. Married to auteur Roman Polanski, and 8 months pregnant, she hosted friends at her Benedict Canyon home the night of August 8, 1969. Charles Manson's cult followers invaded, committing murders that forever scarred American pop culture. Tate was 26. Media sensationalism eclipsed the star herself. But Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood recently recentered her effervescent presence. Above all, Tate symbolizes the fragility of bright futures in dark times. Tui Trang. Clad in yellow spandex, Tui Trang karate-kicked glass ceilings as Trini Kwan, TV's first Asian-American superhero for many 90s kids. After leaving Power Rangers, she aimed for serious drama and produced Vietnamese language projects. On September 3, 2001, driving to a bridesmaid fitting, Trang's car lost control on Interstate 5, flipping over a roadside cliff. She died en route to the hospital, age 27. Former co-stars performed a martial arts salute at her memorial, vowing to keep morphine in her honor. When Netflix's 30-year anniversary special aired, her absence roared louder than any Zord. Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger leapt from teen comedy heartthrob to artistic juggernaut in a single decade. 10 Things I Hate About You, Brokeback Mountain, and finally an anarchic, Oscar-winning Joker that redefined comic book villainy. Preparing in isolation, he filled journals with manic scribbles and slept erratically. On January 22, 2008, a toxic cocktail of prescription sleep aids, anti-anxiety meds, and painkillers arrested his breathing in a Soho loft. He was 28. The Academy hurried a golden statue into his family's hands. Fans still mimic his lip-smacking cackle. Ledger's final eerie note to himself: "Bye-bye. Cinema still won't answer back." Edy Sedwick. Twig-limbed, doe-eyed Edy Sedwick pirouetted into Andy Warhol's factory and reshaped New York's underground glam. Dubbed superstar, she became muse, mannequin, and method actor in Warhol shorts, like Beauty No. 2. But silver-painted nights masked black tar mornings. After rehab stints and a brief marriage, Sedgwick succumbed to barbiturate intoxication on November 16, 1971, at 28. Her pixie haircut and chandelier earrings still adorn mood boards, while every It Girl cautionary tale echoes her whispered confession: "Nothing exists but now." River Phoenix. River Jude Phoenix didn't just play emotionally raw characters, he radiated them. Born into a nomadic counterculture family, he spent early childhood busking outside supermarkets with siblings to feed themselves. That hard-won empathy lit up the screen in Stand By Me, 1986, where 15-year-old River poured real childhood scars into Chris Chambers's shaky bravado. Hollywood hailed him as the next James Dean, but Phoenix had zero interest in blockbuster polish. He chose offbeat scripts, learned guitar, and performed eco-activist benefit concerts with his band Alika's Attic. At 18, he earned an Academy Award nomination for Sidney Lumet's Running on Empty, channeling the restlessness of a fugitive kid who craves normality yet fears betraying his radical parents. 3 years later, he partnered with director Gus Van Sant on My Own Private Idaho, improvising dialogue opposite Keanu Reeves and crafting that heartbreaking campfire confession in one take. It cemented him as the patron saint of 90s indie cool. Yet fame eroded his quiet routine. Between night shoots and band rehearsals, he survived on caffeine, cigarettes, and the backstage temptation of LA's club circuit. On 30 October 1993, Phoenix stopped by Johnny Depp's Viper Room to jam with Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. In a cramped bathroom, he accepted a speedball mixture of heroin and cocaine. Minutes later, he staggered onto the sidewalk, convulsed, and collapsed. Brother Joaquin's frantic 911 call plays on true crime specials to this day. River was pronounced dead at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, aged 23, carrying a guitar pick in his pocket and 100 unmade films in his future. Candlelight vigils lined the Sunset Strip for weeks. Leather jacket teens wept for a legend they felt, but barely knew. Joaquin later dedicated Walk the Line's Oscar win to My Brother, River, the original artist, Brandon Lee. Brandon Bruce Lee spent childhood on Hong Kong backlots, watching Father Bruce choreograph nunchaku ballets, but tragedy struck early. Bruce's sudden 1973 death left 8-year-old Brandon searching for an identity separate from dragons and kung fu myths. He found it in acting school, mastering Chekhov and Sam Shepard, while honing Jeet Kune Do footwork after hours. Roles trickled in: TV's Kung Fu, the movie, the tongue-in-cheek action flick Showdown in Little Tokyo. But scripts rarely appreciated his brooding sensitivity. It took James O'Barr's underground comic The Crow to unleash Brandon's inner poet. As rock guitarist Eric Draven resurrected to avenge his fiancée's murder, Lee painted his face white, draped himself in leather, and quoted Edgar Allan Poe between balletic gunfights. Principal photography in Wilmington, North Carolina, ran 60 gritty nights. On day 50, a scene required co-star Michael Massey to fire a revolver directly at Lee. A prior close-up had used dummy cartridges fashioned from real bullets with powder removed. The crew failed to extract a primer-lodged slug. For the wide shot, they loaded blanks, high pressure, but bulletless. Massey squeezed the trigger. The blank's force propelled the lodged slug out of the barrel. It tore through Lee's abdomen, severing his aorta and lodging in his spine. Doctors fought for 6 hours, but Lee died 31st March 1993, age 28. His wedding scheduled for 2 weeks later to fiancée Eliza Hutton. The studio faced a dilemma: scrap or finish the film. With Hutton's blessing, they completed it using early CGI and body doubles. Upon release in 1994, The Crow became a cult masterwork, its moody visuals and Lee's final performance redefining comic book cinema. Hollywood overhauled firearms protocols, mandating barrel checks and third-party armorers. Like Draven's prophecy, it can't rain all the time. Brandon's legacy still pierces pop culture every stormy Halloween night. Brad Renfro. Brad Barron. Renfro's casting story feels mythic. At 10, mischievous and barefoot, at a Knoxville Dare rally, he caught the eye of casting agent Molly Finn seeking an Appalachian Huck Finn for Joel Schumacher's The Client. Renfro mastered 500 pages of legal jargon and stole every scene from Susan Sarandon and Tommy Lee Jones. Critics hailed him as America's new working-class truth-teller. Hollywood stuffed his teen years with morally ambiguous roles, bulldozing bullies in Sleepers, befriending Nazis in Apt Pupil, and snarking through the art school satire of Ghost World. Yet the paychecks went home to cash-strapped relatives, and the nightlife temptations stayed in L.A. At 15, he was arrested for cocaine possession. At 18, for driving a stolen yacht. At 20, he pled guilty to heroin charges. Still, directors believed in him. Larry Clark cast him in Bully, citing raw sadness you can't teach. On 8 January 2008, Renfro celebrated end-of-probation paperwork with friends. 1 week later, he missed a meeting. Roommate James Cox found him slumped on a couch beside burnt spoons and a used syringe. Toxicology confirmed acute heroin-morphine intoxication. He was 25. Perhaps the cruelest postscript, the 2009 Academy Awards omitted Renfro from its memoriam montage, citing time constraints, sparking fan fury. Co-stars launched the Brad Renfro Forever Foundation, funding rehab scholarships for Southern youths in entertainment. His tombstone in Knoxville reads, "Gone but not forgotten." Directors like Darren Aronofsky still cite Renfro as the benchmark of unpolished screen honesty. A reminder that Tinseltown can mint money from troubled teens, yet balk at the rehab bill. Jonathan Brandice. Blonde bangs, ocean blue eyes, and sitcom timing made Jonathan Gregory Brandice a Tiger Beat regular before he could drive. At 13, he voiced the young fox in Disney's The Never-Ending Story 2, then tackled bullied soccer prodigy Matthew in Ladybugs. Spielberg tapped him for 1993's futuristic series Sequest DSV. As teen genius Lucas Wollensack, Brandice fielded more fan mail than Baywatch. However, teen idol fame is a shrinking island. When Sequest was canceled, Brandice longed for complex adult material. He landed indie parts, an abusive boyfriend in Ride with the Devil, a cameo in Heart's War. He told friends that studio executives still saw the cute kid in the wetsuit. Depression deepened in early 2003 when his pilot 111 Gramercy Park was rejected, and editors trimmed his Heart's War screen time. On the 11th of November, he dined with friends, referencing suicide hypothetically. After they left, he hanged himself with a nylon rope in the hallway of his Los Angeles apartment. Paramedics restored a heartbeat, but brain swelling proved irreversible. He died December 12, 2003, at age 27. The media cycle moved on quickly. No televised tribute, just shocked posts on fan forums. Yet Brandice's death jolted Hollywood's teen star pipeline. The Child Performer Services Act expanded mental health check-ins for minors. Friends honor him annually by screening his home-shot mini-movies, improvised spoofs filmed on high-8 tapes where Jonathan played every character. They reveal a creator aching for bigger canvases. The posters may have yellowed, but for a generation who hid crushes behind locker doors, Jonathan Brandice remains forever 17, wishing someone had opened the door and listened. Lee Thompson Young. Lee Thompson Young rocketed to fame in 1998 as teenage secret agent actor Jet Jackson, a trailblazing Disney XD series with a black lead who balanced small-town life with Hollywood superhero antics. Off-screen, he kept a 4.0 GPA, wrote haiku, and dreamed of Harvard, but chose USC's film program to stay near auditions. Transitioning from Disney glow to adult gravitas, Young scored a chilling arc on Friday Night Lights as running back Smash Williams's rival and embodied Boston detective Barry Frost on Rizzoli and Isles. Colleagues described him as first on set, last to leave, hiding journals filled with philosophical musings influenced by his Baha'i faith. Privately, Young battled bipolar disorder. Medication adjustments clashed with punishing night shoots, and he retreated into solitude. On 19 August 2013, he failed to report to the Rizzoli and Isles set. Concerned crew members requested a welfare check. Officers found him in his North Hollywood apartment, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was 29. Production shut down. Scripts were rewritten to retire Frost with dignity. A quiet goodbye episode that left viewers sobbing. Young's mother, Velma Love, launched the Lee Thompson Young Foundation, partnering with universities to fund mental health literacy for creative teens, advocating that depression wears many award-winning smiles. Disney re-aired the famous Jet Jackson, including helpline PSAs, affirming that even heroes need backup. Hollywood's new intimacy coordinators cite Young's tragedy as a catalyst for mandatory mental health days in certain contracts. His final tweet, posted weeks earlier, quoted Rumi, "The wound is where the light enters you." Aaliyah Dana Houghton. Aaliyah Dana Houghton signed her first record deal at 12, mentored by R. Kelly, before teaming with Timbaland and Missy Elliott to forge futuristic R&B, syncopated whispers over stuttering beats. Albums 1 in a million, and Aaliyah broke gender and sonic boundaries. Film soon beckoned. She sliced through goons in Romeo Must Die, 2000, performing her own Wire Fu beside Jet Li, and rapped vamp noir epic Queen of the Damned by 21. During a Bahamas shoot for Rock the Boat, she insisted on flying home early to start rehearsals for Matrix Reloaded, where she'd play Z. On 25 August 2001, Aaliyah's entourage boarded a twin-engine Cessna 402B overloaded with cameras and luggage. Local pilots warned the charter firm, but a different pilot, Luis Morales III, later found to have alcohol and cocaine in his system, took off. The plane stalled 200 feet beyond the runway and exploded. Everyone aboard died instantly. Aaliyah was 22. Global charts flooded with tribute airplay. MTV ran 24-hour marathons. Posthumous album sales soared. And designers from Tommy Hilfiger to Fenty trace midriff-bearing street chic to her 1997 photo shoots. The crash spurred FAA scrutiny of under-regulated island charters and inspired Beyoncé, Alicia Keys, and Drake to tattoo lyrics in her honor. Zendaya nearly starred in a biopic, but fans argued no lens could recapture that whispery mystique. Unreleased demos continue to leak, each a time capsule of where R&B might have headed sooner. Trap soul, electro-afro beats, all previewed in her Velvet Coups. Aaliyah's epitaph, chosen by parents, "Baby Girl," fitting, because culture never got to watch her grow into its queen. Heather O'Rourke. Steven Spielberg discovered 6-year-old Heather Michelle O'Rourke while she was slurping soup in an MGM commissary. Her platinum bob and saucer eyes captured the essence of Carol Ann Freeling, the suburban child lured by spirits in Poltergeist, 1982. She mastered horror tropes quickly. Dead-eyed stares, panicked whispers, the iconic "they're here," all while attending first-grade tutoring on sound stages. By Poltergeist III, execs paid her $150,000, unheard of for a 12-year-old. In early 1987, she experienced flu-like symptoms and swollen cheeks. Doctors diagnosed Crohn's disease, prescribing cortisone that puffed her face for the third film's shoot. In reality, she had a congenital intestinal stenosis, narrowing that traps bacteria. On 31 January 1988, severe abdominal pain escalated to septic shock. Helicoptered to Children's Hospital of San Diego, surgeons attempted an emergency bowel resection, but heart failure claimed her on 1 February. She was 12. Poltergeist III producers contemplated reshoots, ultimately dedicating the film to her memory. Rumors of a franchise curse ballooned, 4 cast deaths in 6 years. But O'Rourke's mother pushed back, emphasizing medical error over mysticism. Her grave in Lakeside, California, gathers porcelain dolls and static screen TVs each Halloween. Pediatric GI screening guidelines now flag chronic corticosteroid use in misdiagnosed Crohn's cases, an indirect legacy of the girl who once warned us not to go into the light. Sawyer Sweden. Twin toddlers Sawyer and Sullivan Sweden charmed producers during an open call for Everybody Loves Raymond, 1996. As Jeffrey and Michael Barone, they matured from diaper gags to deadpan zingers, delivering 210 episodes by age 16. When the sitcom wrapped in 2005, The boys returned to rural Texas, scraping normalcy from magazine covers that still printed their faces. Acting opportunities proved sparse. Sawyer enrolled in community college, loved video games, and quietly wrestled mood swings. On 23 April 2015, visiting relatives in Austin days before his 20th birthday, Sawyer stepped onto the front porch with a .38 revolver and ended his life. The family's statement cited untreated depression exacerbated by sudden adulthood. Co-star Patricia Heaton called the tragedy a scream nobody heard. The cast reunited for a suicide prevention fundraiser, where Ray Romano confessed that child actor welfare remains our industry's blind spot. The Sweden family launched the Sawyer's Light Foundation, sponsoring school counselors and destigmatizing mental health chats among rural teens. Twin brother Sullivan returned to stage acting, honoring Sawyer through every curtain call. Reruns now feel bittersweet. Laugh tracks swell while one brother's echo stays forever. 19, reminding viewers that sitcom families fade to black, but real families keep searching for answers long after.